Hello, today is Saturday, the 14th of December 2024. As always, we will start with our disclaimer, go over our calls, and make our predictions. It's the weekend, so we'll take a look at the longer term picture as well. It's my trading plan for Monday. Monday is December 16th, 2024. Remember, my calls can be wrong. Trade at your own risk. I use many systems. One is my MEJT system. It gives targets. It says nothing about entries. You have to use other systems for that. Well, on Friday we look for the pattern with the early high, which is this. Monday should also have the early high. We had the wall into the close, so it was very likely panic selling, and if so, we should gap over this high, which we did. The wall with gap patterns, an unstable pattern, at some point, usually within a day or two, the gap fills and there's support under the gap. Well, it didn't have to fill this quickly, but it did, so that was satisfied. There's support under the gap. We're trading right under it, so I think it's very likely that support has become resistance, and that's further supported by the fact that we have a lower MEJT target of 6,038.94. And unless we gap up smartly, that's my call for Monday. We had an ultimate sell signal in the morning. That's already played out. MEJT says this rally is not for keeps, gives us our target. This is just what we said. Higher prices should print regardless of where we close. These are next week's patterns. Monday has the early high. Well, we're coming in to one of the year's strongest periods, but the market isn't showing real strength. In fact, breadth has been deteriorating seriously. It doesn't mean we can't go higher, but let's see how that's affected the longer term picture. Well, we had a major low here. We had a clear count for 5 waves up for wave 1 of some degree. We're counting this as probably wave 2, but again, it's not the only count. And let's focus in on what's happened since here. We always say it isn't the only count, but we do think that from here in August through here, we have a clear 5 waves up. And we have this as wave 1, green 1 of magenta 3, and if that's true, there'll be a mild correction for green 2, and then a huge rally in wave 3 of multiple degree. That's what this count says, but again, it's not the only valid count. And the fact that breadth is deteriorating during one of the year's strongest periods make me think maybe it's not the right count. Doesn't break any rules, could still be right. Things could change, but I would expect us to be gathering strength there, and we're not. Well, here's another way to count this. You start from the same point and your wave 1 is the same point, and instead of having magenta 2 here and then 5 waves up, you have magenta 2 start here. If that's true, we're in magenta 3, and right now magenta 3 is equal to magenta 1. Now magenta 3 by this count only has 3 waves. That's a 5-wave structure, but wave 5 doesn't have to be higher than wave 3. You can count this as 1 and 2 and 3 with good fibs, and if wave 5 truncates, that could be the end of 3. Now what's interesting about this is if you superimpose the Fibonacci grid from wave 1 onto our candidate for wave 3, you've got some good hits in the Fibonacci grid. I mean, here's your 38.2, right here's your 78.6, Here's your 61/8. We're pretty close on the 23/6. I mean, this is a pretty good Fibonacci grid. And the prettier a count looks, the more likely it's the right count. And what this count says is different than what the other count says. The other count says you're going to have a mild correction and then be off to the races on the upside. This one says you're going to have to go through black 4, black 5, complete magenta 3, complete wave 3, complete wave magenta 3, or at least one of 3, but let's say it's magenta 3. You then have to go through magenta 4 and then have your magenta 5. I mean, if that's the right count, and that certainly is a valid count, we're going to be consolidating probably over months here. It's a less bullish count than the other count, but it certainly looks pretty plausible to me. It implies this high is going to hold for a while. Now, it isn't carved in stone. We could break it tomorrow, from Monday, for all I know. But at least it shows over the very short term we're going to have a correction which could last a long time. And again, it's not the only valid count, but it certainly is more in keeping with the breadth deterioration, and it's a prettier count because of the Fibonacci grid. So we'll have to see if it works or not. I still take things a day at a time, and here's my target for Monday, 60.38.94. Well, Monday's pattern has the early high regardless of where we open. Typically it's a rally day with a high in the final hour. If you fail, it's a straight line drop. We have a lower MEJT target. Unless we gap up smartly, we'll say it prints. Now, breadth is measured by these indicators. This one says percentage of stocks with favorable point and figure charts. This one is the percentage of stocks over their 200-day moving average, has weakened considerably despite this being one of the year's strongest periods. It means while the averages remain near their highs, fewer issues are holding the averages up, and eventually this should lead to a breakdown, although it might have to wait until next year to start. I don't look for collapses at the end of December. We're entering a strong seasonal period, and the all-time high should break at some time. You're not going to see all-time highs made in December. That just doesn't happen. But before long, we should enter into a corrective period. Could last weeks to months, and it might not start until next year, but that's not a hard and fast rule. So awakening eventually will break to new highs, but we might have to sit and twiddle our thumbs for a while first, and we might have to sit through some correction. As far as Monday's concerned, here's my target if we don't gap up, and that's today's call.